When a health problem changes personal appearance, it can easily result in a form of profiling. One example of that is vitiligo, a lifelong disease that causes skin to lose color. Researchers are still trying to learn more about the causes and possibilities for treatment, but people living with the disease have been trying to increase public awareness, and they recently got some new support for the proclamation of Vitiligo Awareness Month by Governor Baker. We'd like to welcome one of the advocates in the campaign, the president and CEO of VITFriends, Valarie Molyneaux. Thank you very much for being with us, Valarie.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
Valarie, I want to start with, for people who don't really know about this already, what exactly is vitiligo?
Vitiligo is part of the autoimmune disease family of diseases. There's no rhyme, no reason, no cause, no cure to this date for this condition. It can pop up anywhere, anytime, anywhere in your life. Records show that it could start before your early 20s, but not for a lot of us. For me, it was later in life, in my 40s, and in my local Boston group, I have at least 4 women that sits in my meetings that are all now in their 80s and new to this condition.
What was it like for you, not only discovering that you had the condition, but really just trying to figure out what was happening?
Chris, that's a loaded question. That's whenever I'm asked that question, I go into my emotions because I'm from a large family. I'm the eldest of 9, and I have no siblings. Mom and dad had nothing. I call aunts and uncles in London and throughout the Caribbean and the Batcher family in New York, and no one could tell me anything. They've never seen of it, never heard of it. Growing up as a child, I've never seen a vitiligo. But I knew that my great-grandfather was an Irishman. So I saw this spot on my left thumb and I rubbed it. It wouldn't go away. I washed it. It wouldn't go away. And I said, oops, Irish. I just connected it because it's something I always do. I love my Irish heritage and that part of me. And I didn't know what it was. I called mom. Mom said she's in the Virgin Islands. Mom said, don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of it. And so I went to the doctor to be diagnosed. And I tell you, I'm not an introvert. I have a little energy to me at times, but that just zapped everything. I remember shortly after the diagnosis, going out to Route 1 in Norwood and buying a brand new car. And when I left the dealership, left the lot, I said, I look so good in this car, but no, I don't look good in this car. This is not me. And I drove the car not to Hyde Park. I drove the car to Jamaica Pond. And I thought about, I should end this. This is ridiculous. The car's not going to help to pick up my spirits. The doctor has no clue. He has no cure for me. He said I could either go all the way, lose all the melanin, and what am I going to look like? Let's try Jamaica Pond. And as you can see from today, many years later, I did not follow through on that attempt to end this life. And so I had to recalculate in my head, what can I do? And I thought about, I could not be the only one. It could not just be me. There has to be others that feel like I do. And where are they turning? Where are they going? And so I started pen and paper. I did a lot of it in school because I'm teaching kindergarten. So whenever there's a lunch break, some may be eating, but I'll be sketching. I'll be writing my thoughts. And today my thoughts has turned into 13 groups across the USA, a supportive group using the same name in Cuba, and desires coming from Puerto Rico, Barbados, St. Martin, and now brand new from Trinidad, that I duplicate what I've done here in those places. So People need people.
What did that do for you? You make these connections with people. You have these support groups springing up. How does that change things?
Oh my goodness. I love my vice president who's out of New York City. One of the things we do, we purchased or paid for an 800 line. And so we get folks calling in. We're not counselors, we're not psychiatrists, but we just want you to call if you're down, if you're low. And I love what she said a couple of 2 months ago. She talked someone off the cliff. And so our job is to support you, to give you information. We want you to know the latest that we know. People call, listen, what sunblock should I use? So we're here to answer questions. We're here to help, but we're here oftentimes to talk people off the cliff.
You know, this is a condition that it might not necessarily hamper people in a directly physical way, but it certainly takes a toll emotionally. And I was also wondering, what about insurance coverage? Are there struggles with people to get coverage for certain kinds of help they need?
Oh, Chris, you go deep. Yes, there has been, and we're grateful for the ones that are able to get coverage, because a trial size toothpaste, someone describes it this way: a trial size toothpaste holds one of the topical ointment that's now being prescribed, and the price is about $800. Trial size toothpaste. Well, we had an incident with Tufts, and we got a call from a well-known Massachusetts dermatologist who said, listen, I wonder if this is something that your community would look into and see if you can lend your voice to this thing. I have a patient who's not been covered. Well, I made some calls, and we have a consultant with us. Her name is well known throughout the city, I believe, Meredith Tewitt. She was once the legislative aide to Gloria Fox, who served us for many, many years. And Meredith said, let's sit and let's talk about it. And so we sat, we talked about it. Meredith made 2 calls, I believe, and we were invited by the CEO of Tufts to come and have a conversation. Today, thanks to that conversation, Tufts now cover vitiligo.
I want to ask you about the film project. I know this is another effort to increase awareness. What do you hope to accomplish with the film?
Well, we're so grateful to Hull Bay Productions right here in this great Commonwealth. Hull Bay Productions lead producer. We had a conversation. I tried to back away from it, thinking it'll be just, I'm doing so much already. This is not something I really want to take on. But when she called again this year, I answered the call. And I said, okay, let's talk about it. And she said, Valarie, I've gone through your website. I've seen and as much as I can about vitiligo, but this is a story that needs to be told. And so we're grateful to, again, Hull Bay Production. And so it's the storyline will feature 5 women, the first 5 groups of this organization, VITFriends.org. And she is going to follow the life of us 5. And production is happening now as I speak to you. They are filming with our Minnesota leader. Her name is Alicia Ruth, and they are filming right now in Minnesota. And then they'll move on to North Carolina, then they'll move on to New York, Connecticut, and back home here to Massachusetts, where they'll wrap up with myself.
My impression from seeing an excerpt of the film is it shows you that there's no one kind of person who has vitiligo, and it changes the focus from a type to individuals dealing with a difficult situation. How important is it to generate that new impression?
It is very important. I captured a little bit yesterday. They did some filming yesterday. And Alicia was able in Minnesota to say, and her parents are right there beside her, when the parents were able to say, we discovered this white spot when she was only 4 months old. So we want to show people it can happen 4 months. It could happen for me at 40. It can happen anywhere. You can be white, you could be black, you could be Irish, you could be anything there is. It covers the gamut. Oh, men, oh yeah, but men seem to, they're not shy, let me tell you, but we seem to have the women up front in this movement. Hopefully we'll get the men on board, but we hope that this is not the last that she's doing. It's the first. And so we hope the next one will feature more men, the storyline around men. We have a brand new teens group. We hope to get them all in we hope that there's a second documentary is the hope that will include others.
That's a feat in itself, getting more men to talk about their health. Finally, we should mention that if anyone wants more information about VITFriends and they might need some help, is there any way they can follow up on that?
Absolutely. Our website, we're going to be doing some work, but as of right now, it's loaded with information. One of the projects that I want to put out there that we're doing, it was something we started at the end before pandemic hit really hard, a book drive. Sitting in an elementary school for the last 20 years, I've never seen a book about vitiligo. And so children that I dealt with had no clue. Here you have a teacher and she has this thing. And it had been a burden for a long time. And so I came up with the idea, spoke to my team, what about a book drive? And so we are honored to say that we have sent out books to several schools across the US. We think we had 48 or 50 books gone out. The first book that we sent out was to a school in North Carolina, where I got a call that there was a little girl, second grader, refusing to go to school because of the bullies. And so I said, I'm gonna send 2 books. One is wrapped as a gift for her, but first, could this book be read in the classroom? So they read the book and they said, oh my God, the little girl, her eyes started opening, the joy that filled that classroom. And then the teacher presented her. Could you see the change in that child's life? Change from a book. And so our book drive is being successful thanks to the support of Vitiligo Research Foundation has helped to fund that for us. And those are things that we're doing. Our podcast, we have 117 episodes so far. And our last show, May 24th, garnered the top rating. I interviewed a former flight attendant who was pretty much expelled from her job on the island of Trinidad. And her show garnered 182 listeners. Wow. And so we're doing things. We're really, really doing some things that we're proud of.
Well, thank you very much for bringing us up to date on that. And good to see you once again.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Chris. Stay well.
Yes, and you too, Valarie Molyneaux from
Bye-bye.
VITFriends. We'll have more news in just a moment.